Emma's Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe podcast.
Hello and welcome to Emma's podcast. It was a very interesting two recording for the week, talking about micromanaging, which seriously, it's a grain of salt in everyone's life, and also insecurity, which is a bigger one too. So I'm probably gonna create. I am actually gonna create a meditation for insecurity, so that might help people who are insecure to remove this. And maybe insecurity, I'm going to do that. And for micromanaging, seriously, because those are the poison we get in our lives when insecurity come. And I'm going to be honest with you, I have some Teletubby story. Insecurity. The only time I felt it's not insecurity, but it's the warning. It could be a form of insecurity, but I have been in a relationship that was way long time ago. The last one I had, that wasn't the last one. That was the previous one, who brought me to the dark night of the soul. It wasn't insecurity, but knowing that I could not trust. Here we go, insecurity and trust. That's another thing too. Here we go. I'm gonna get my okay. I'm gonna create those, because trust, when you're feeling that something is not right, when your little voice is telling you don't trust that person, because that person, and I'm talking your partner, okay? I'm not work too, because there's a lot of people that your instinct will say do not trust those individuals. Maybe because you notice they lie, maybe you notice there is too much drama, maybe you notice something is fishy, and when people are way too nice to you, all of a sudden it's because they want something. How many times did people pop up actually before I go to the rest of the thing? It's funny. That was 30 years ago, something like that. And some people would never talk to me unless when I was in my little cubicle over there, they would pop and they were so nice. Hi Eva, how you doing? And those guys would never talk to you. And I turned around with a smile on my face and say, what do you want? Cut the crap. What do you want? And they were like, oh. I'm like, well, you're not here to talk to me. You're not here to see how am I doing. So what do you want? Just come straight to the point. Come approaching somebody. And for me, I always love to do it. That was kind of my evilish side of it. It's like, I don't buy your fakeness. I don't have time for your crappiness. You want something, go straight to the point. You could just say, hey Emma, hi, you could say, I hope you're okay, but it's a, hey Emma, I have a question for you. Can you help me for this? You don't need to go, hi, how you doing? It's like, it was that's fake. So I always love to turn around with a big smile. Cut the crap. What do you want? Because you're not here to talk to me. You never do. So what do you want? And you're like, oh God, that was so funny. Or I used to do that as well. I do once in a while, actually. When I really I go the opposite way, actually, when I do that. When people are rude to you. And that was the boys' club. What we call the boys' club is meaning when you were in manufacturing world, woman never had, which is fine. I personally don't give a crap. And I still don't through these days. Give a crap of who's what at which level, because I don't have time to go bickering on that. But where I was working, the majority of men's were in management leadership positions, and the only female who was doing indirect supply. So she wasn't doing the engine, she wasn't doing this and that, which is fine, don't care. But those guys, some of them were pretty rude. And when I say rude, they will talk to you like crap. And I got enough of it. I'm like, I'm not a carpet here. So I responded the same way they were responding. And they went and talked, and my boss, his name was Roberto, complained to him. And I was a contractor, so I did not personally care at that point. And they're being rude. And one day, Roberto said, well, people think you're rude. Some of them complain. I said, yes, because they're rude to me. So I'm responding exactly the way they're speaking to me. If they speak a better way, then I will speak nicer to them. But I am not going to take that in my face. I set up the pattern right there, people. If you're rude to me. So now what I do, instead of being rude, I just be nice like a sweetheart, like they do in South. I talk to them very nicely with a big smile, just to piss them off even more. Because that's the best sweet, kill them with kindness. Okay, we'll do that, not a problem. Or I just do my evil face, which take a second to smile and just. What did you just say? Hello? What? What? So, but yeah, so that was the good old days, and you have to stand your ground. Yeah, some people complain because they were the same one complaining, but they were not happy because I was clearing up also their bonuses. And their bonuses, actually, thinking back at that, actually, that's kind of funny. In one way, those managers had their bonuses as year-end. So the lower they were saying that they were dealing with supplies or maybe 3, 4, 5 millions. And the first year was, oh my God, I saw so many people lying, manipulating data. Year 2, when I worked on it, I worked my butt off on this one. It took 6 months for me to identify every single supplier. So imagine, instead of having maybe 3,000 suppliers, they had 5,000, which was laughable. I I identified all of them, and I assigned them to a specific supply manager. Imagine their faces for some of them that they, oh yes, we just did 25 millions in spending, when in fact it was 110 million. Imagine a little bit. So they had to work for their own money. I forced those guys literally here in the US to work with their counterpart in Europe, and I wasn't removing anything until I got the authorization from both of them. So imagine they were forced to work together. Oh, miracle on this one. But they used to do their numbers, and I remember the female, Jennifer was her first name, who came and became their directors. We talked about it because there was a lot of backlash. It was the group old boys. We lie, we massage the data. Things appear by magic, and you look at it and say, this is weird, that data is wrong. Oh yeah, we'll give you only the Excel spreadsheet. I say, no, I want access to the software. I don't want access to your Excel spreadsheet because there is already half of it that got removed. And we were the only actually business to report the truth. The others were lying to their teeth. So when they were reporting to what I call it the mothership, they were reporting lies. At least we could back it up. They could not, because I would have gone directly to the data and said, this is the data. So that was the good old days. It's still, still some of them were massaged from one business unit to another's. If one commodity made more money, they will transfer on paper to show that everybody were happy, skippy, and making their numbers, which wasn't true either, which was very interesting when you're learning about businesses and looking at how, what I call it, doing an end run internally, massaging and lying. So I learned very well a long time ago that when you're at the bottom, you're in the trenches, and you see the shit show, then you go to the next level, and somehow that shit show looks clearer. By the time you reach the leadership team, everything was hunky-dory. Oh, unbelievable. When I started in corporate, I remember he wasn't funny, but I laughed. They were studying network. So now people are like, oh my God, network. Yes, that's mean every single store had their server. And the server, it wasn't one server. It was one store equal one server, which is the best way to do this. And they had to put the network together because it wasn't. And the person who were doing this never did that. They screwed around. They screwed up for about a year. So there was, hundreds of thousands of dollars lost and lies. until something happened and finally leadership discovered what happened, and that went down in fire, literally, because their deadline were not met. Not all of the store were on a network. It was just a nightmare. So it's very interesting to see how things evolve and how people are doing things as well, because it's easy to always think everything works perfectly when in fact if you tell the truth and explain where you are with your numbers and see what you can do, then you can resolve your issues. Yes, it might impact your beautiful what do you call it, bonus at the year end. Maybe you're aiming for a better position, maybe you want to be promoted and you're not. Well, I would rather deal with the crap and get it cleaned than I have seen people moving and changing position and leaving a trail of nightmare. And you're like, oh boy, oh boy. And that has been such an interesting things to see. So for people who don't understand that, that is a learning curve that you get when you observe what's going on within businesses and learn. That's why you have to expand and be curious about how things works. I know some people like to stay in their lines because that's what they do. Oh, I said, I'm like, well, if you learn more, you see how you impact people as well. I have seen people in customer service who were making their life more miserable and more difficult than it's supposed to because they were afraid if they were, how I'm going to say that, changing the way they were doing things, they were getting fired, which is ridiculous because customer service, you deal with the customers. It was so interesting. I was I was working for got hired for a small company, and I went into their plant, which is about, from over there was about 80 miles, something like that. So I used to go maybe once a month at the beginning, and then I'm like, I'm not going over there. No friendly over there. But I was going over there because I wanted to look at the customer service and how they were doing things to help them to handle a little bit better the customer itself. And there was some frustration because some people I've been there for 80 years. And I interviewed one of them who, I think this one, she didn't understand who she dealt with. Seriously. So one, she was rude because she turned her back to me the whole time. Like, I interviewed everybody. I wanted to see how they do their job, what can be, modified, what are their challenges. When I came to her, the first thing she said, and this is like the puppet, this is always the red flag for me. Well, I've been there for 8 years and a half, and I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, okay. But can you explain what you're doing? How do you process your things? How you receive your customer? How you deal with this, and that? So not only she turned her back, she wasn't answering me all the time, and she thought I would leave after 5 minutes. I'm like, you do not know me, sweetheart. And I spent 45 minutes with her, and she realized I wasn't going anywhere. She's like, okay. And she gave me, and I asked her a question because I realized she's making her life more difficult. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So when I went back to the office, I had a conversation with the person I was reporting to, the VP of development, and I said, we can make their job a little bit easier by doing this and that. And I told him the story about these individuals that, thought she could blow me away for a minute. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. So, but I found it disrespectful that you see the insecurity, but you see people who, like, she was staying in her line, making things, that's how I learned, that's how we do it. And I had somebody that was hired just a month or two after me, and she was coming from customer service, so she had the knowledge, she had a better way to do things, but the other one was fighting her because she did not want it to change. We have to look at when we're in position where we are. I always look mine when I was working in corporate, even contractor or permanent, because I did both. I always looked at what can I automate so I don't have to do it. If I can automate something, make it easier for me, then I can do something else and expand what I'm doing and do something more interesting. So I always make sure I automated some of my steps. So I did not have to do it, or if I had to run reports, I knew how to do it, and I had the process, and I had already the software, and I had everything to run it. So I did not have to give myself a headache and make it and simplify it, so I could do something else. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people are afraid because it's an amazing that people are afraid of everything, and you're like, no, you should not be afraid. You should be looking at everything you can do and ensure that you can produce something that makes your life easier. Why not? I don't know. So think about this, and what can you do to simplify, or to even more than simplify, but make your life way much better than anything else. And as I said, I have seen so many things in my life that seriously, I smile. I'm like, oh goodness gracious, why would you make your life miserable? But people who are clinging that badly to their desk and afraid of changes. I know being afraid of changes is not that fun. I understand that. However, you can do better by overcoming your fears, the fear of the unknown. So it's very interesting to see that. It's very interesting to be interested on those facts. And I have observed, I know human nature. I have seen somebody else's who was very good at creating events. Oh my goodness, this woman was awesome. She had a lot of potential to go somewhere else, but she was afraid because she didn't know if people will accept her because she was a certain age, and she was doing so great things. At the end of the day, because she stayed clinging to her desk, she got laid off. And that's too bad, because that woman was awesome. I was long gone when that happened. But it's like, don't cling into your desk. Look at what you can do in your life and take that leap of faith. Yes, it's scary. I can tell you that it's scary. Yes, I do things that I don't know. Learning to go into the unknown. And I talked about the fire. I talked about the dark night of the soul, or some portion of the dark night of the soul. But when you go into the unknown and you don't know what tomorrow is going to be, that's something that is like, holy crap. Literally. So why not enjoy who you truly are? Why not being who you're meant to become? Because that's what it's all about. So I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know what about the fears, because I've seen a lot in our life. And you know what? Take a leap of faith, because it really brings who we truly are, and change from the stagnant position we have, that little cocoon, to walking into the unknown. And I know this is one of the biggest things, is walking into the unknown. Been there, done that, still doing it. I still go into the unknown. I don't know what tomorrow's going to be, but I have the universe was my back. I believe firmly into to take that leap of faith. I always said I'd rather die on my deathbed, have no freaking regrets, than have a list like a lot of people have. And it's never too late. I always advocate for that. It's never too late. So be who you're meant to be, and engage who you're meant to become, because this is the best things you will ever have. So all my love, guys, and I will talk to you later. Have a good weekend. Bye now.
Where do we
Emma's Universe Podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast. Emma's Universe Podcast.